Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Yevamos, Perek Zayin, Chapter 7, Mishna Hey, Mishna 5. Now, actually, we began it yesterday, so we'll just quickly run through the beginning, and then we will continue from where we left off. Ha'ines from a fata v'ashaita, a person who forcefully cohabits with an unmarried woman, or convinces her to cohabit with him, or an insane person. All these are examples of marriage, of cohabitation outside of marriage. They do not disqualify, nor do they feed truma. But if any of these people just mentioned, these men are not worthy of coming into the great congregation, they're unfit to enter the congregation of the Jewish people, meaning they cannot marry a Jewess of proper lineage, then this act of cohabitation shall invalidate. Ketzad, what's the case? Yisrael Shabal Bas Kayin, if the case of a Yisrael who cohabited with a daughter of a Kohen, Toicha B'Truma, she continues eating Truma from her father's house, she didn't marry him. Ibra, if she becomes pregnant from him, Lo Toicha B'Truma, then she can't eat Truma, because she's carrying a child from a non-Kohen. Let's say the child dies, then the halacha is that she could go back to eating Truma from her father's house, because there are no children from her marriage to the Yisrael. Kohen Shabal Bas Yisrael, if the case were to be a Kohen who cohabited with the daughter of a non-Kohen, Lo Yisoicha B'Truma, she's not married to him, so she can't eat Truma. Ibra, let's say she becomes pregnant from him, she's carrying the child of a Kohen, Lo Yisoicha, she cannot eat. Because as we learned previously, a fetus doesn't have the ability to allow people to eat Truma. Yolda, but if she gives birth to the child, now she has a child from the Kohen, Toichel, she can now eat. Because the fact that she has a child from the Kohen entitles her to eat Truma. Nimtza Keicha Shal Benai Shal Ben Kadam Shal Av. It comes out the power of the son is greater than the father. The child gives her the ability to eat Truma while the father didn't. Okay, this is what we did yesterday. Now this is the new part. Ha'eved, a slave, a Gentile slave, Paisa Mishum Bia, his act of cohabitation will invalidate, Paisa Mishum Zera, but it will not invalidate as a child. Meaning, as we said before, a forbidden act of cohabitation renders a woman it disqualifies a woman from being able to eat Truma. An Eved, a slave, is included in that. The Torah says that a slave may not marry a Jewess. It's not allowed. A Jewess of proper lineage, he may not marry. So if she cohabits with him, she now has performed a forbidden act of cohabitation, and that renders her invalid to eat Truma. An Eved will do that. However, we also know that if a woman is the daughter of a Kohen, and she married a Yisrael, so if let's say the marriage ends and there are no children, she goes back to her father. If there are children from the Yisrael, or even grandchildren from the Yisrael, there's some kind of a surviving descendant, direct descendant, any child, male or female, from the Yisrael that's still around, this woman is not able to eat Truma. That's the halacha. If, again, she married a Yisrael, the Yisrael died, but if there's any kind of child or grandchild that's left, she cannot go back to her father's house and eat Truma. This will not be true when it comes to a child or a grandchild who would be would be a slave. Now, how would that be? So let's see the case. Now the Mishnah says the cases. Ketzad, how is this? Bas Yisrael l'Kohen, Bas Kohen l'Yisrael. Whether we're talking about the daughter of a non-Kohen who married a Kohen, which should give her the right to eat Truma, or the Bas Kohen l'Yisrael, or the daughter of a Kohen to Yisrael, by being married to Yisrael, she loses her rights to Truma. The Yol Dehemenu Ben. In each case, they had a son. Okay? Let's go slowly. All right? They had a son. The son went and cohabited with a shivcha, with a Gentile maidservant. A Gentile slave woman. He's not allowed to do that. But he did it. The Yol Dehemenu Ben. And they have a son. A son is born from this union. Okay? What status does that son have? Harei ze Eved. That son, even though his father is a full-fledged Jew, because his mother is a Shivcha Kanainis, a Gentile slave, he has the status of an Eved, of a slave, which means that he is not fully Jewish, he's quasi-Jewish, and he is not, but at the same time, from the point of his lineage, is he considered the son of his father? If his status halachically is that of an eved, of a slave, is he considered the child of his father? The answer is no, he is not. Biologically he is, halachically he is not. This is not his child. Okay? And therefore, the results of that are the following. Ha'isa aim aviv bas Yisrael l'kayin. Now, let's say the mother of his father was the daughter of a non-Kohen who married a Kohen. Meaning that was a story. The story was you had a Bas Yisrael marrying a Kohen. They then had a son. That son then had a son from a slave woman. And now they have this, there's this child whose status is a slave, right? Being that he does not get his lineage back to his father, he has no lineage to his mother either. And therefore, what happens is like this. Ha'isa aim aviv bas Yisrael l'kayin. If the mother of his father was a daughter of a Yisrael to a Kohen, loy soichal b'truma. She cannot eat truma. Now, we learned previously that if, let's say, you were to have a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen, the Kohen died. If they had a child, daughter or son, she could eat truma. Let's say the daughter or son died. If there's a grandchild, she can continue eating truma. Any descendant that came from this marriage enables her, direct descendant, enables her to be able to eat truma. In this case, we have that the Bas Yisrael married a Kohen. The Kohen died. They had a son. The son produced a son whose status is a slave. The son died. The only surviving descendant now to this woman who used to be married to a Kohen is her slave grandson. That slave grandson is not considered a descendant of his father, nor of his grandmother, nor of his grandparents. Which comes out then that this woman, right, has no surviving descendant from her marriage to a Kohen. So, no more truma. She can't eat truma anymore. If the grandchild wouldn't have been a slave, she could continue eating truma. But now that the child has a status of a slave, she cannot continue eating truma. Next case, Bas Kohen Yisrael. Let's say the case was the daughter of a Kohen married to Yisrael. But the starting case was the daughter of a Kohen was married to Yisrael. Okay? They had a son. The son went and produced a son from a slave woman, whose status, that child is the status of a slave. Now, a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, if there are any surviving descendants from that Yisrael, meaning she was married to a Yisrael. When she got married to the Yisrael, she lost her ability to eat truma, right? If, let's say, her husband dies, but there is a child left from that marriage, again, she cannot go back to her father's house to eat truma. If there's no child, then she can go back to her father's house to eat truma. Let's say there's no child, but there's a grandchild from this marriage. Again, she cannot go back to her father's house and eat truma. But in our case, the surviving descendant is the child is the status of a slave. And that child is not considered her child. It's not considered a descendant. If that means now she has no living descendants from her marriage to the non-Kohen, she can go back to her father's house and eat truma. That's what it means here when it says that in this case of the Eved, so again, the Eved, his act of cohabitation in any form with the Jewish woman disqualifies her from eating truma. It was a forbidden act of cohabitation. Now, from the point of what children do or descendants do regarding whether it allows the woman to continue eating truma if she was married to a Kohen, or disqualifies her from eating truma because of the fact that she was married to a Yisrael, the fact and any descendant from that marriage makes a difference there. If that descendant comes out halachically being considered a slave, that descendant has no lineage to them, and therefore it's considered that there are no descendants, and depending on the situation, that will be, the ramifications will be that of the woman who has no descendants from the marriage that she had either to the Kohen or to the non-Kohen. We shall complete this tomorrow. Okay? Continue with the Chofetz Chaim. Okay. Vida. The Chofetz Chaim has been talking about if there is evidence to what the Lashon Hara that you heard whether that's going to allow you to believe it or not. So the Chofetz Chaim says, as he said already before, by the other examples, and realize, no, the afilu devar manikarim mamish, even if there is actual evidence. Actual evidence, we learned yesterday, means the evidence relates directly to the story, and it's something that the person saying over the Lashon Hara knew of himself. And it only helps for you to be able to believe what's been told to you. But to go and tell other people about it doesn't give you the right to do that. It's no different than any other time where you actually saw the person do something wrong, and you knew he did something wrong. Does that give you the right to go telling other people about it? Not necessarily. So therefore, the fact that there's evidence that allows you to believe it is no different than if you saw it yourself, which doesn't automatically give you the right to go tell other people about it. And without any question, this idea or this concept of evidence allowing you to believe for sure will not allow you in any way to rely on that evidence to actually cause him some kind of a loss monetarily or to physically or to cause any kind of physical harm to him. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.